Hey everyone, as requested by a subscriber, I'm gonna be reviewing a video about Sean Ellis. It's a guy who lived together with wolves. Maybe you have heard of him.
By being accepted into a wolf pack, Sean hopes to prove that man can live in harmony with wolves, as long as he respects their way.
People have lived together with wolves for a long time, in Europe especially, and of course wild dogs also. That's why we keep dogs still today. We domesticated them, but their natural wild core is of course the same. They eat raw meat. Humans in nature also eat raw meat. That's the main reason why we didn't befriend cows, seeing as we are just too different. We are a lot closer to wolves, and of course also other predators.
I felt by doing that, I would then be trusted enough for these guys to share their secrets with me. The same secrets now that we can use to help save.
He looks closer to the way a natural human being would look. Long hair, obviously. A little bit of a beard. You would have for sure a longer beard in nature, especially when you live in a cold climate. It's like a natural scarf. And just something about him radiates something natural. He looks wild, which is a good thing. It's a very good thing.
Guard them and their cousins in the wild.
Day in and day out, Sean puts his life on the line to be accepted as a member of the pack. At any moment, these wolves could seriously...
Okay, chill. They are not gonna eat him or attack him just like that. The way... This is very telling. The way mainstream media always tries to portray... And this is just ignorant humans. It's not even about the media. Wild animals is as if they are something other than natural animals. Wild just means natural. When you live naturally, there's a very specific order to the way you live. You don't do anything just randomly. If you are friends and in a pack clan with somebody, you don't just attack them all of a sudden, but that's the way they want to portray natural animals, as if you cannot trust them or even rely on them. It's not the case whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that Sean actually understands that he can rely on these wolves more than he could ever rely on any domesticated humans today.
...injure him, even kill him. But he spent 15 years studying wolf language and behavior, and that knowledge is what keeps him alive.
Every day is a battle for survival, a harsh existence coming under nature's laws, their rules.
Sean and his pack of North American timber wolves live here, at the Coombe Martin Wildlife Park in England, about 200 miles southwest of London.
But didn't he used to actually live in the wild with them? Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Now he's at the zoo, but they didn't always used to live in captivity, right? Or did they? Because of course then it's not really natural animals.
This is a unique experiment. By living with these wolves, Sean hopes to gain insight into their behavior. And though he's teaching them how to survive in the wild, they're also teaching him a thing or two.
I think some of the closest secrets these guys shared with me is their intricate language, the way they communicate with each other. Above all else, the respect they have for one another makes them that family unit supreme.
That's literally what I meant, exactly. And we don't have that today.
Wolves can be vicious predators, and yet this pack has allowed Sean to enter their world and live as one of their own. They've even...
So what difference does it make? A cow in that sense is the same as a wolf. What they eat or what they do, if they hunt or not, or they eat grass, doesn't make a difference as far as family and so-called respect goes.
Accepted him in a dominant role. So how did this man become the leader of a wolf pack? The short answer is he fit the bill. In this case, the best wolf for the job wasn't a wolf at all. It all began 2 years ago when a mother wolf rejected these 3 pups. Sean took in the orphans and became their caregiver and guide.
The position I hold with the guys at the moment is responsible for their education, their teaching, how to become wolves.
But the wolves are nearly adult now, and Sean's role as leader of the pack will soon be challenged. His fear that the wolves will turn on him and shun him from the pack altogether. It's a precarious position that could turn deadly. Dinner is the riskiest time of all. At mealtimes, tension is high as the wolves position themselves for a share of the kill. Each wolf has a particular rank within the pack. During meals, one wolf may challenge another's status or be forced to defend his own. Sean must fight to defend his position as alpha male, but he also uses wolf language, a combination of snarls and grunts to dictate who eats when and from what part of the carcass.
The way the wolf licks him, they love him.
All it takes every now and again is just a little bit of a reminder, just to say what he can have and what he can't have.
Wolf families function with a strict hierarchy. Sean is the leader and holds the alpha position in his pack. This is Tamaska, the enforcer. He holds the second or beta position. And as the largest wolf, his role is to maintain order. In the wild, he would protect the pack from attack by other wolves. Matsy is the lookout. A lower-ranking wolf, he's nervous and suspicious by nature.
Yeah, naturally, it's all dictated by how big you are, how strong you are. There's nothing that needs to be said in this man-made order that we have in this chaos. You sign some contract or some nonsense or show some symbols on a piece of plastic, and that's how you get a higher rank in your delusional head. Of course, nature still dictates the way your life will go also in this man-made system, but my point is simply that naturally the best developed animals, no matter what species we are talking about, are the ones that will simply take the highest ranks, just naturally, without absolutely doing or saying anything. And the rest will do whatever they are supposed to be doing.
For now, Sean is entitled to the prime pieces of meat, the heart, kidney, and liver.
Heart, kidney, and liver, of course. This is what the most powerful animals would eat. That's how they stay strong, and then that's how they make the next generation strong, and so on. And the lower ones get lower food, so to speak, and that's why they stay at a lower rank. This applies to all species.
The rest of the pack is allowed to feed on the carcass after he has taken what is rightfully his.
Yeah, meaning that they eat the muscle meat, which is why muscle meat is loser food. That's what I always tell you. And here you have it. It's clear as day. The winners, the best ones, eat the organs, the losers eat the muscle meat. And the biggest losers, which I don't even know what you can really call, those eat Beyond Meat and 3D printed meat. Imitations of muscle meat. Muscle meat in itself is loser meat, but then they imitate the muscle meat. It's done.
But Yana is already showing signs that he's ready to challenge Sean's position as alpha male. And Sean's days as leader of the pack.
I don't know, Sean looks pretty intimidating. I don't even know if I would dare to, even if I was a wolf.
Human skin is delicate, especially compared to a wolf's thick pelt. For Sean, this once meant frequent trips to the hospital for stitches. But then, he made a startling discovery.
The minute I entered the enclosure, the wolves would whip out the stitches, open up the wound and clean it thoroughly, and it healed in a fraction of the time.
When
Yeah, and they always tell us to put on a band-aid or some kind of toxic cream or whatever.
wolves lick their wounds, the saliva can actually reduce bacterial growth and encourage healing. When they lick Sean's wound,
Yeah, bacteria, exactly. They lick the wound with bacteria, which reduces the bacteria.
it could have a similar effect. And Sean's body, it's a lot tougher than he thought.
Living the way that I do would be to most people a harsh existence that would leave you susceptible to most diseases and illnesses, but quite the contrary, really. It's improved my immune system dramatically. I can't remember the last time I've had a cold or an upset stomach, and it's almost like nature prepares you for their world.
This is what it says on Wikipedia. Ellis also claims in The Man Who Lives with Wolves to have spent 2 years living as a member of a wolf pack in Idaho. Outside of the zoo then, right? Because that's somewhere else. The people there talked British English. All right, very nice. Yeah, that's what I thought I had heard. Yeah, I was correct. He told the reporter for The Guardian, I ate what they ate, mostly raw deer and elk, which they would often bring to me, or fruit and berries. That's what I always tell people, that that's what they should be eating, and that's all that you can eat in nature. Mostly animals, sometimes some fruits and berries. Oh my god. I never fell ill and my body adapted quickly to this new diet, which is what you're naturally supposed to eat, yeah, of course. Despite the food being generally unappealing, Ellis commented that when you're hungry enough, even raw meat begins to look appetizing. Okay, here's the thing. Firstly, it doesn't look appetizing at first because of previous conditioning. People are brainwashed. They look at raw meat and they think, oh, I need to cook it. Not because you naturally need to. All humans in nature eat raw meat. It's because you've been conditioned to fear the bacteria, parasites, or who knows what. Once you are set out into nature and you can only eat raw meat, you're just gonna eat it and you will realize that it's better. And he also said that when you're hungry, even raw meat begins to look appetizing. This is what I always tell you guys. I'm against fasting and starvation, absolutely 100%, all about intuitive eating. However, if you're really strongly conditioned and you want to feel true hunger, I do recommend actually fasting. It's starving for 24 hours, and then you're gonna feel real hunger. Maybe a bit less, maybe a bit longer, depends on how much body fat you also have. But once you really get hungry, a piece of liver is gonna look different to you than it did 24 hours ago when you were full. Yeah, this is what he means. When you're set out into nature and that's all that you have, and that's the only thing you should think that you have anyway, because the rest is not food what you can buy in the supermarket, then the real hunger will ignite without any fire, no cooking, and then you will feel true hunger. Then you will want to eat what you naturally want to eat, and then you will be really satiated for the first time in your life.
3 wolf pups were born at the wildlife park, but rejected by their mother. That's when Sean stepped in as teacher and nurturer. Their names are Tamaska, Yana, and Matsy.
Actually, they don't have any names. You just imagine that they do because you humans give beings names even though no being has any name. And that's how they grew to love him naturally. He was like the mother, father, a parent.
The wolf pups are just 12 days old, but already they're demonstrating an iron grip.
He's actually clamped tight on the thumb, and because I've got hold of him, I can't actually get it apart. Even at this early age, you've got tremendous jaw pressure here, and they're just starting to cut their teeth through, so he's got something to hang on to. So just literally, the more I'm trying to get it apart, he's clamping down more and more.
As adults, those same powerful jaws will help bring down prey in the wild.
This little wolfy love bite.
Sean is about to teach the young wolves one of their first important lessons: how to communicate with other wolves.
These guys are just starting to show the first signs of ear movement, twitching, which will indicate that they can actually hear us and our voices. So this is an ideal time now to start to begin to teach them their language. And the best place to start is with the howl. Let's see how he gets on.
A young wolf howls the same way that an adult does, but since they're smaller, their calls are at a much higher pitch.
I guess that's what we call first lesson over.
Wolves howl to mark boundaries between rival packs, and it's essential for them to recognize the voices of each individual within their pack. Another deeper step into their world. He starts to live, sleep, and eat with his new wolf family. Essentially, he begins to live as a wolf. The pups are growing fast. Now that they're eating meat, Sean wants to give them the closest possible experience to actually feeding in the wild. So, he feeds them just as an adult wolf would, from his own mouth. The young wolves lick Sean's lip.
That's pretty interesting because dogs love to lick your mouth, lips, everything. Very similar. Huh.
In wolves, this triggers regurgitation. Sean will imitate the regurgitation process after a little sleight of hand. First, he hides partially cooked meat in his pocket. Then he secretly slips it into his mouth.
Man, that's so dumb. Really? Partially cooked? Come on, man.
Chews it, and allows the pups to lick it out. Sean is teaching his pack, but he's also gaining valuable knowledge about wolves. Knowledge that he hopes will help save the lives of wild wolves.
He's watched as the wolves have invaded nearby property, angering the local ranchers, who now want to resume culling.
We can't be completely pro-wolf and completely pro-farming. We have to be somewhere between the two and try to get...
You can't be between the two. You should be pro-nature. That's what pro-wolf means. Because it's predators that are always gonna want to hunt. Enslaving them, putting them in a zoo, and none of that is gonna work. Because you can domesticate them and try to manipulate them, but the core is always going to stay the same, which is nature. It's the same for human beings. You shouldn't even be pro-farming. There's nothing good about farming. I understand why people do it today, and I could even understand why the tribes in Africa farm cows and drink their blood and milk and everything. But it's also actually sustainable farming, not this toxic way of farming that we have in Europe, for example.
The two to understand each other through an experience and acceptance of each other's world.
This was actually pretty interesting. I had heard of this guy before, but I had never seen any videos about him. The way he eats the raw meat with them, although I guess that later on he also smuggled in some cooked meat into his mouth. I don't know why he does that. He knows that he can be eating raw meat and that it makes him feel good, but whatever. Maybe it's the guidelines of the zoo, actually, because in the wild it said that in Idaho he ate raw meat with the wolves. There's also something wolfy about his face. I don't only mean that he looks sort of wild, natural. There is something wolf-like about his face. Let me know if you also see what I mean. Maybe that's also one of the reasons why they accepted him, but it's of course also because he grew up with the baby wolves in the zoo. That's why, of course, they saw him as a mother, father, just as a parent, as the big animal that takes care of them. That's all that it really means anyway. It can also be a different species sometimes. It can kind of work out, of course. At the end of the day, they will stick to their own. That's normal. Everything that I've been telling you about the way it naturally functions is really, of course, the way it is. Needless to say, but maybe it's just interesting for some people to see it reaffirmed that obviously they eat raw meat and the organs first. Okay, yeah, that's clear. But also just the whole hierarchy and the way you just naturally choose who's going to be in charge without you saying anything, really, even without you doing that much. It's really just about the appearance and the strength. And that's how it is for all species. We can see the same with human beings. In school, it's clear who's going to dominate. They don't really need to say anything or do much. That's why there have also been those cases of the so-called feral children, natural children, surviving with wolves, supposedly also other animals. They don't try to survive together with cows, deer, or any other animals because in nature we eat the same food. We eat mostly raw animals, also some berries, but even wolves, bears eat berries. Surviving with some plant-eating animal would never even work out. That's also why we wouldn't be using them as guards, obviously, or to help us hunt or anything. It just completely explains why we always took in predators, flesh-eating animals. Alright, thanks for watching.